Dumelang, my name is Josias Mahube Renaka, and I am a revolutionary, and I am the people. The people are me, and the office of presidency belongs to the people. This institution that we found ourselves in is an institution that prioritizes the brand of the institution over the livelihoods of our students. In my term of SRC Treasurer, I have shown that I can deal with policy change as I have created and implemented the Treasurer Sub-Council, which is a constitutionally binding policy in student governance that ensures that any person who emerges as a treasurer in any form of student leadership at the University of Pretoria are forced to fundraise in their constituencies towards historical debt, registration issues, and food insecurity issues. With my capability in doing so, I will engage extensively with management to ensure that there is a revision of the policy that doesn't allow students who owe money to UP to register. This will change so that students are able to register regardless of their owing status. Further, there needs to be a revision of the policy that criminalizes students who cannot pay their fees, as this contributes to high youth unemployment rates and subjugates our students to severe mental health issues as well. And as a person who does go through the motion of mental health, one thing that this university needs to do for our students is to ensure that the psychologists start doing their jobs. It's time for the institution to implement a COVID-safe room whereby psychologists and students are able to both be inside, because phone calls will not fully help with mental health issues. In my time of office, I will ensure that there is a student business trading policy implemented, whereby students can fund their degrees and their lives through this policy, meaning that students will be able to sell and purchase goods from other students, as well as allowing students to apply for tenders within the university. I'll implement a continuous academic appeals class every quarter to ensure students are able to get back into the institution when they're academically excluded. Furthermore, students deserve to be able to backtrack in a test at least 10 times to ensure academic excellency can be achieved. And with the use of the Treasury Sub-Council, as well as working with SNAP, I will ensure that there is a meal a day program once a quarter to further extend this academic excellency while students have filled up stomachs. And through the Treasury Sub-Council, this will also serve as an avenue for funding and financial assistance for international students. As I engage with the incoming Facility and Safeties Officer, Sibuile, I'll make sure that the work laid by the current Officer of Safety and Security in Jabulo can continue to be materialized, ensuring that there are panic buttons implemented on campus and around campus to ensure the safety of all of our women and LGBTQI community. Further, I will be engaging with the management of clubs, bars, as well as within the residences of private and university managed accommodations to ensure that there is a GBV policy implemented in those spaces, as these are the spaces whereby we are seeing the most victimization and brutalization of women in the LGBTQI community without the perpetrators actually having proper repercussions. There'll be strong engagement occurring between Brooklyn Police Station and Tshwane Metro Police to ensure that further patrolling is going to be around these areas. And as it stands, there is not a safe area for victims of GBV in the institution. And I believe that a space needs to be provided whereby victims of GBV are able to go into these spaces, be able to be rehabilitated with professional help so that they can get back to their studies in a much more better state of mind and emotional well-being. Hashtag umsebenzi wethu, hashtag EFFSC UP, down with white monopoly, vote EFFSC UP. Danko.
And that
Revolutionary greetings to all students of the University of Pretoria. I am Figile Sibande, running for the office of the Secretary and with the banner of the EFFSC UP. Students have over time voiced their dissatisfaction on how student leaders execute their duties despite having taken an oath and swore to serve students and do so diligently. Students have expressed the lack of accountability from student leaders that act in a manner that is not satisfactory to students. This has resulted in a lack of trust in the SRC structure. The Office of the Secretary is the most effective way in which to ensure that student rights are protected, that there is adequate representation of all students, and the advancement of student interest. To achieve this, it is important to note and understand that this office should not be reduced to taking down minutes and as an offshore for presidential responsibilities as posed in Chapter 3, Section 4 of the Secretarial Duties, but rather understanding that that the Secretary is the chief administrator and manages issues between the SRC management and the student populace. When students give me the mandate to serve in the SRC, this is how I plan to implement and to ensure that secretarial administration is effective and efficient. Firstly, secretarial duties include being a drive for institutional policy change. That's a key driver of change and reform within the Secretariat. Will be establishing a coordinating committee to coordinate change and reforms by engaging key stakeholders together with other SRC members, and will be supported by various institutional personnel, which will help implement immediate constitutional and institutional policies to realize rapid change. Secondly, a results-based management will be implemented within the Secretariat to provide an effective and transparent platform to demonstrate accountability, results, and impact of student leaders. With this being implemented, student issues will be effectively recorded, and thus will also ensure that secretaries in various student organizations in the institution effectively attend and deal with issues presented to them by students. Furthermore, to avoid a lack of availability of elected student leaders in UP residences and UP accredited residences, the SRC secretary should have direct communication with secretaries of residences or any form of serving residence sub-council, and the secretary must be allowed to sit in the residence sub-council to capture accurate information of the meetings held. Thirdly, as the face and engine of student management related matters, there will be an implementation of the first statistical report, which will include a collection of data from various student structures, which will include information with regard to student debt, mental health, legal services, cases off and on campus, gender-based violence, academic and financial exclusion, residence culture issues, and residence placement. It will also include data on the cross-cutting issues of poverty, the institutional environment, gender and sexual assault cases statistics. This report will provide students and various stakeholders with access to accurate and comprehensive information of issues that affect students. To ensure that vital information is available to students, these reports will be released on a regular basis together with the minutes of the SRC meetings, statements with regard to student issues on SRC social media platforms, and communication between the student body and the SRC structure will be strengthened by making the SRC tab permanent on ClickUp. The Office of the Secretary will implement an executive members code of ethics policy for all student leaders who serve in student governance of the University of Pretoria, which include but is not limited to members of the executive, which will ensure that they serve students to the satisfaction. This policy will also allow for that in an event that a student leader does not act accordingly, that students may follow the processes that will be established to hold student leaders accountable. Yours in free, quality, decolonized education. I thank you.
Revolutionary greetings to all University of Pretoria students. My name is Siseko Soka, and I stand before you today to appeal to all students to elect me into the Student Representative Council as your study finance officer. In making this appeal, I would like to deliver to you a manifesto that is well guided by consultations through continuous engagements by the EFF Student Command with you as students on the ground and through online platforms. The plans that I have for this office are well informed and practically possible when working with relevant stakeholders, including other SRC members. When students give me the mandate of serving in the SRC of 2022, I will work towards fees of codes to be included in the tuition fee to allow students to do online assessments in time and not do them late because of not being able to pay those fees, and that will be to avoid academic exclusions. I will also work towards the combination of the registration fee with the tuition fee so that as students wait for their funder or sponsor to confirm funding, they are not forced to pay fees. I will ensure an increase in capacity, access, and availability of textbooks to all students. This can easily be done through my ebooks, which has been used for the AIM module whilst protecting the intellectual property and copyright. By working closely with residences and faculty houses, We will ensure that textbooks can be delivered to students and loaned to them for the time they need them. I will ensure an increase in the budget allocation for the SRC and the money be sent directly to the SRC Treasurer's Cost Center. And the reason for this is because it will be easy to allocate funds and disperse them to students to ensure that no one is excluded. My office will partner with the Student Nutrition and Progress Program, SNAP, UPREG, and DSA to ensure that students get food banks and meal allowances, in which I will also partner with residences and faculty houses so that all students are reached. Making use of the Treasury Sub-Council implemented by the 2021 SRC Treasurer, Josias Mahube Reineke, which allows us to approach financial establishments, businesses, and foundations, in which we will have a target of raising funds to ensure that deserving students are provided with quality laptops and repay historic debts so that students can graduate. After these funds are procured, by virtue of one being a UP student and in need of funding, they must be allocated those funds as it is now possible through the Treasury Sub-Council. The selection criteria to be used for allocation of these funds will not be exclusionary and be on the basis of nationality, race, and irrational academic performance. I will bring back the Solidarity Fund, as COVID-19 has affected a lot of students with their parents and families being retrenched from work. Giving students access to facilities is priority, meaning computers in residences must be fully operational and not a few, as that leads to academic exclusion. Please read the EFFSC UP Manifesto, as it details our commitments and plans of action to restore the dignity of all students. Amandla.
Thank you. Revolutionary greetings to the student populace at large. I am Charlotte Bida, running for the portfolio of transformation in student success. As a generation of students who are innovative, it is important for us to keep up with the fast-changing environment around us. Active leaders need to challenge the status quo by addressing factors like socioeconomic issues that students face, as well as implementing policy changes in line with what the students stand for, and ensuring that these policies materialize on the ground. As someone who strives for innovation, the portfolio of transformation in student success is one I believe I can conquer. The first issue I would like to address is the issue of students living with mental health conditions. COVID has led to psychology sessions being held online, which creates a barrier between the students and the student counseling unit. A more hands-on approach is therefore needed from leaders to help cater to the needs of the students. If you look into the student counseling unit, there's a high demand but limited supply. Therefore, it's important to liaise with the Safety and Facilities Officer to ensure development in facilities. I will also refer students to different peer support groups if need be. In event of any students not being able to receive the attention that they need, I advocate that students be given a platform to submit quarterly reports through the support of the Office of the Secretary to bring awareness to the lack of support that they may be receiving, so solutions can be implemented in line with specific needs. Secondly, I think it's important to create an all-inclusive environment for students who are differently able. These students need to be in an environment that recognizes and caters to their needs. It is imperative for transformation officers to continuously engage with the disability units to ensure that their needs are being catered to and to help where need be. It is imperative for transformation officers to take an approach of listening to the needs of our students. The Transformation Sub-Council needs to make it their duty to ensure that university life is an easy transition for first-year students. Students from disadvantaged backgrounds, for example, may not be familiar with online learning, and a week is not enough to help students with the transitioning period. Therefore, the Transformation Sub-Council needs to be available beyond just the first week of orientation and should thus continuously make an effort to build relations with first-year students so accountability with engagement is created. Thirdly, it is vital the university ensures a student culture that embraces and embodies diversity to its fullest potential is created. Student raisers need to create an environment where all cultural practices are celebrated at ground level. Changing of resident names means nothing when all cultures are not represented. This can therefore be done by student reses having programs that recognizes and appreciates all cultures. Res is meant to be a home away from home, and students should thus be able to feel at home. More engagement about cultural practices needs to take place at ground level, and input by students should be at the core when this is implemented. Afrikaans being catered for is extremely exclusionary. This improves the ability for Afrikaans students or Afrikaans-speaking students being able to fully understand their work, while non-speaking Afrikaans and English students are at a disadvantage. Therefore, we need to campaign for improved language policies, as this will lead to improved access to information, so non-speaking English and Afrikaans students aren't at a disadvantage. All spaces should be adequately represented. We need to attend and address intersectional struggles at ground level. As an LGBTQIA+ activist, it is important that our queer community is in an environment that allows for freedom of expression. The Trans Protocol, for example, calls for dismantling of gender bias that is entrenched institutionally. The protocol calls for gender-neutral bathrooms being made available across the university. I will thus help ensuring that this is materialized in the upcoming academic year, protecting the needs of anyone who is gender diverse, and also advocating for gender-neutral accommodations. Education sessions also need to take place so students are able to learn and unlearn any toxic bias towards the queer community. I will ensure the Transformation Office has constant communication with organizations such as Up and Out and Speak Out to address any intersectional issues. In addition, gender-based violence remains a pandemic we're still trying to tackle. It is thus very imperative that the Transformation Office ensures that these issues are tackled at grassroots level. Effective systems need to be put in place to help students in not only reporting cases, but also referring them to any emotional support that they may require after such aggressive acts take place. And collaborative efforts from all stakeholders will be needed. Student residents and private accommodations should be held liable together with the perpetrators when such actions arise. I say this because accommodations do not do enough in ensuring that student cases are heard. Perpetrators of such...
Unfortunately. Revolutionary greetings to all students, University of Pretoria. I stand before you today to appeal to all students to elect me into the Student Representative Council as their Facilities Safety and Security Officer. In making this appeal, I would like to deliver to you a manifesto that is guided by a thorough consultation with all students through continuous engagements by the EFF Students Command on the ground and on platforms. The plans that I have for this office are well informed and practically possible when working with the relevant stakeholders, including other SRC members. Should students give me the mandate of serving in the SRC of 2022, I will advocate for the expansion of bus shuttles to private accommodation and accredited residences in Brooklyn, Sunnyside, Arcadia, Groenkloof, Prinshof, and Mamelodi. Students residing in these areas have been excluded from accessing transport to and from campuses. This exclusion has placed a great burden both financially and security-wise, as they are vulnerable to crimes such as robberies and gender-based violence. Expanding the scope of UP security personnel to areas that have been pinned as crime hotspots. This can be done by redeploying a portion of security personnel to these hotspots in order to curb criminal elements that continue to pose a threat to the student populace. In addressing gender-based violence, I will work with security personnel, house parents, house committees in all residencies to assist victims with surveillance evidence, statements, pressing charges on the perpetrators at the Brooklyn police station. Continuous quarterly engagement, consultation in form of a quarterly reports and submissions from students through the office of the SRC Secretary to ensure that their safety and security concerns are properly diagnosed and effectively addressed. I also intend to establish an effective system that will ensure that all students have access to facilities such as printers, IT labs, health services by forwarding a motion of increased permit rollout. I also intend to ensure that there is a mandatory provision of laptops and data to unfunded students. These students will be identified by compiling lists through faculty houses, class representatives, and tutors. This will be enhanced by the work of the already established Treasury Sub-Council by the outgoing SRC Treasurer Josiah Mahube Reineke. In addition, I also intend to increase the allocation of daily data bundles from 10 gigabytes to 30 gigabytes anytime data to accommodate students who are studying from their respective homes. Yours in free, quality, well-resourced education in our lifetime. I thank you.
Revolutionary greetings. My name is Masiko Mochabane. I am a final year education student contesting the position of marketing, media and communication. My plan is to create media training programs in order to establish digital consciousness in the student body. Live stream the SRC meetings, ensuring students are knowledgeable in all areas that affect them. Monitoring social influence in order to establish constant reach to students through popular social media outlets such as Instagram and Facebook. I also want to represent you and get your voice out to the student body using the communication outlets that will be provided by the institution. #umsebenzi wethu, #EFFSC.